Section 1 of the Ingoldsby Legends, First Series. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Ingoldsby Legends, First Series by Richard Harris Barham. Section 1. To Richard Bentley, Esquire. My dear Sir, you wish me to collect into a single volume certain rambling extracts from our family memoranda, many of which have already appeared in the pages of your miscellany. At the same time you tell me that doubts are entertained in certain quarters as to the authenticity of their details. Now, with respect to their genuineness, the old oak chest in which the originals are deposited is not more familiar to my eyes than it is to your own, and if its contents have any value at all, it consists in the strict veracity of the facts they record. To convince the most incredulous, I can only add, that should business (pleasure is out of the question) ever call them into the neighbourhood of Folkestone, let them take the high road from Canterbury to Dover, till they reach the eastern extremity of Barham Downs. Here a beautiful green lane diverging abruptly to the right will carry them through the Oxenden plantations, and the unpretending village of Denton, to the foot of a very respectable hill, as hills go in this part of Europe. On reaching its summit, let them look straight before them, and if, among the hanging woods which crown the opposite side of the valley, they cannot distinguish an antiquated manor house of Elizabethan architecture, with its gable ends, stone stanchions, and tortuous chimneys rising above the surrounding trees, why, the sooner they procure a pair of Dollond's patent spectacles, the better. If, on the contrary, they can manage to descry it, and proceeding some 5 or 6 furlongs through the avenue, will ring at the lodge gate, they cannot mistake the stone lion with the Ingoldsby escutcheon, ermine, a psalter, and grailed jewels in his paws. They will be received with a hearty old English welcome. The papers in question having been written by different parties, and at various periods, I have thought it advisable to reduce the more ancient of them into a comparatively modern phraseology, and to make my collateral ancestor, Father John, especially, deliver himself like a man of this world. Mr. Maguire, indeed, is the only gentleman who, in his account of the late coronation, retains his own rich vernacular. As to arrangement, I shall adopt the sentiment expressed by the Constable of Bourbon 4 centuries ago, Testy Shakespeare, one which seems to become more fashionable every day. The devil take all order, I'll to the throng. Believe me to be, my dear Sir, yours, most indubitably and immeasurably, Thomas Ingoldsby, Tappington Everard, January 20th, 1840. Preface to the Second Edition. To Richard Bentley, Esquire. My dear Sir, I should have replied sooner to your letter, but that the last 3 days in January are, as you are aware, always dedicated at the Hall to an especial battue, and the old house is full of shooting jackets, shot belts, and double joes. Even the women wear percussion caps, and your favourite, Rover, who, you may remember, examined the calves of your legs with such suspicious curiosity at Christmas, is as pheasant mad as if he were a biped, instead of being a genuine 4-legged scion of the Blenheim breed. I have managed, however, to avail myself of a lucid interval in the general hallucination, how the rain did come down on Monday, and, as you tell me the excellent friend whom you are in the habit of styling a generous and enlightened public, has emptied your shelves of the first edition, and asks for more, why, I agree with you. It would be a want of respect to that very respectable personification, when furnishing him with a further supply, not to endeavour at least to amend my faults, which are few, and your own, which are more numerous. I have, therefore, gone to work con amore, supplying occasionally on my own part a deficient note, or elucidatory stanza, and on yours knocking out without remorse your superfluous I's, and now and then eviscerating your colon. My duty to your illustrious friend thus performed, I have a crow to pluck with him. Why will he persist, as you tell me he does persist, in calling me by all sorts of names but those to which I am entitled by birth and baptism, my sponsorial and patronymic appellations, as Dr. Pangloss has it? Mrs. Malaprop complains, and with justice, of an assault upon her parts of speech, but to attack one's very existence, to deny that one is a person in esse, and scarcely to admit that one may be a person in posse, is tenfold cruelty. It is pressing to death, whipping, and hanging. Let me entreat all such likewise to remember that as Shakespeare beautifully expresses himself elsewhere, I give his words as quoted by a very worthy baronet in a neighbouring county, when protesting against a defamatory placard at a general election: "Who steals my purse steals stuff. 'Twas mine, 'tisn't his, nor nobody else's. But he who runs away with my good name robs me of what does not do him any good, and makes me deuced poor." Footnote: a reading which seems most unaccountably to have escaped the researches of all modern Shakespeareans, including the rival editors of the New and Illustrated Versions. End footnote. In order utterly to squabash and demolish every gainsayer, I had thought at one time of asking my old and esteemed friend Richard Lane to crush them at once with his magic pencil, and to transmit my features to posterity, where all his works are sure to be delivered according to the direction. But somehow the noble-looking profiles which he has recently executed of the Kemble family put me a little out of conceit of my own, while the undisguised amusement which my Mephistopheles eyebrow, as he termed it, afforded him, in the full face, induced me to lay aside the design. Besides, my dear sir, since, as has well been observed, there never was a married man yet who had not somebody remarkably like him walking about town, it is 1,000 to 1 but my lineaments might, after all, out of sheer perverseness, be ascribed to anybody rather than to the real owner. I have therefore sent you, instead thereof, a fair sketch of Tappington, taken from the Folkestone Road. I tore it last night out of Julia Simpkinson's album. Get Jilks to make a woodcut of it. And now, if any miscreant, I use the word only in its primary and Pickwickian sense of unbeliever, ventures to throw any further doubt upon the matter, why, as Jack Cade's friend says in the play, there are the chimneys in my father's house, and the bricks are alive at this day to testify it. Why, very well then, we hope here be truths. Heaven be with you, my dear sir. I was getting a little excited, but you, who are mild as the milk that dews the soft whisker of the new-weaned kitten, will forgive me when, wiping away the nascent moisture from my brow, I pull in and subscribe myself, yours quite as much as his own, Thomas Ingoldsby, Tappington Everard, February 2nd, 1843. End of section 1.